Hello students, welcome to the answer writing program. Today we will be discussing two case studies from GS4, that is ethics paper. So let's start with the first case study. In case study, during first reading only, try to segregate the different stakeholders, what are the ethical dilemmas, what are the different issues, because you do not get time to repeat or to a second time give a reading to the case study. So do it in the first instance only. So let's read together. You are working as an executive in the nationalized bank for several years. One day, one of your close colleagues tells you that her father is suffering from heart disease and needs surgery immediately to survive. She also tells you that she has no insurance and the operation costs around 10 lakhs rupee. So, you are also aware of the fact that her husband is no more and that she is from the lower middle class family. You are empathetic about her situation. However, apart from expressing your empathy or sympathy, you do not have the resources to fund her. This is the first part, let's say. The few weeks later, you ask her about the well-being of her father and she informs you about his successful operation or the surgery and now that he is recovering. She then confides in you that the bank manager was kind enough to facilitate the release of rupees 10 lakhs from a dormant account of someone to pay for the operation with the promise that it should be confidential and should be repaid at the earliest. She has already started paying it back and will continue to do so until it is all returned. And on this basis of case study, we need to answer these three questions. So let's see this case study in brief. A colleague informs you about the ill health of her father and tells you that her father requires the immediate surgery or the urgent need for the heart surgery, which she cannot afford due to the financial constraints. Despite having sympathy for her, you also cannot provide the financial assistance to her. So this is the first part of the case study. And second, in this part, we have learned, later you learned that her father underwent the successful surgery with the help of bank manager who released the funds from the dormant account. So this was the issue till here. And lastly, what the case study is telling, that the colleague is now repaying the amount whatever she has got from the dormant account and she will try to maintain the confidentiality about this whole arrangement. So what are the ethical dilemma or the ethical issues altogether we can see in this case study? On the one hand, there is a concerns for the colleague's well-being and the moral obligation on you to support your colleague in the urgent need or the medical emergency situation. On the other hand, the special arrangement or the confidential arrangement with the bank manager has raised the questions with respect to transparency, accountability or the potential risk of conflict of interest. So now this executive needs to balance this. What this executive needs to balance, what is the ethical issues here involving in this case study? The desire to support the colleague and also to maintain the probity and the integrity, administration or the financial regulations of the banking as an organization over here. So this was the case study and we have done it in brief as well. And what are the ethical issues over here? What would be the ethical dilemma for the executive? So let's start the answer now. We will try to deal our case study by starting the introduction, then body part. As usual, we write in the GS papers and then finally conclude our answer. In introduction, you can write some description as we have discussed it right now in 2 through 3 lines and also the ethical dilemma or the ethical issue involved in brief. Then in conclusion, you can write about the evaluation, what you have done in overall case study and finally what you are concluding and what you are doing the resolution. In body, we have multiple other parts, like first, whether the question is asking or not, try to write the stakeholders. What are the different stakeholders involved in this case study? Then what the question is demanding directly, like all these ABC. So A, B, C, you need to cater down. Okay. So let's start with the introduction. In introduction, as we have briefly discussed what is the description of the case study and what are the dilemmas or the ethical issues involved. So you can write that in introduction. Next comes the body part. Stakeholder is executive, you, executive of the National Bank, then the colleague who got the funds from the dormant account, the bank manager who helped that colleague to in the releasing of the funds from the dormant account, then father of the colleague, although indirectly, which is not exactly mentioned in the case study. Father of a colleague, this colleague is the central point for this case study. Due to him only all this extraction of the funds or the accessing of the funds from the dormant account has happened, and all the ethical dilemmas and the issues involved in this case study. Next is the person whose dormant account was accessed, and finally the bank as an institution. Next comes the first body part. What are the ethical issues involved in this case study? The very first thing, with respect to the account holder, next with respect to colleague and bank manager, and finally with respect to bank. So with respect to the account holder, what are the ethical issues? Confidentiality breach and the privacy breach has happened with respect to this account holder. He was not informed before getting the funds from his account. So it is a total and the clear case of confidentiality and the privacy breach of the account holder. Next is abuse of authority by the bank manager in authorization of funds from the dormant account. He unauthorizedly access the funds from the bank account by abusing his position as a bank manager. Third is fairness and equal treatment. Due to the preferential treatment to one colleague, the bank manager has gone against the impartial and the fairness and has done unequal treatment and unfair treatment to the other colleagues. Then comes the transparency. Transparency because the colleague and the bank manager are not transparent about their actions. They have done in the secret manner and put it as a confidential arrangement. Next comes the accountability. The colleague and the bank manager has not tell anything to either the higher authorities or not abide by the rules and regulations of the policy and the principles of the bank. So they were not accountable. Next is they breached the professional integrity. They breached the moral and the ethical values that the bank employee should be adhered to, like the honesty, probity, integrity towards the bank as an organization. So they have breached the professional integrity as well. Next comes second part, that is B, evaluation of the behavior of the bank manager from an ethical point of view. Means we need to evaluate that whatever the bank manager has done, till what point he was correct and where he has shown the negative aspect of his side. The first thing is the positive one. Like he has shown the compassionate and the empathetic behavior because his support or his gesture or the willingness to support his colleague and the purity in his intention about the support to her father's heart surgery. So he has shown the compassionate and the empathetic behavior and also fosters the very secure workplace or the caring workplace. Next is responsibility towards the bank. As in the last line we have read in the case study that the bank manager has asked to make it confidential and also to be repaid at the earliest. So he maintains the responsibility towards the bank for the repayment and to maintain the confidentiality about this arrangement. And the negative aspects is the very first thing, lack of authorization. He has misused his position and he has unauthorizedly or he does not have authority to access the funds from the dormant account. Next is confidentiality and the transparency breach he has done towards the account holder. Then breach of professional ethics. He has not adhered to the honesty and the integrity and whatever the ethical values he has to show towards his profession, he did not abide by that. Next is setting problematic precedents. Maybe these issues can be raised again in the future and this can be set as a precedent that okay, if there are some unique circumstances or some good intentions that we can do this unethical thing. Next is erosion of trust within the organization due to unfair treatment, due to impartial treatment, and due to non-transparent and non-accountable act. This creates or this leads to the erosion of trust between the different colleagues as well, within the organization and within the organization and the outer environment as well. Next comes the how would you react to the situation, like how I will deal with this situation. Very first thing is appreciate the compassion. I will appreciate the compassion whatever the bank manager has shown towards the colleague and her father. So I will appreciate this intention. Next is legal compliance. I'll ask the colleague and the bank manager to seek the legal advice for their actions, because if they have done something wrong, illegal or unethical, they should comply with some other legal authorities or the legal backing, so that it will not risk the banking system. They will not risk the bank as well as those two individuals. Next is, in the long run, I will advocacy for the transparency and accountability. Like in short term, how would I ensure the transparency? In the repayment. In the long run, I would ensure the transparency and accountability in the board meetings, because I am one of the executive board meetings. And also, the public trust hinges on the transparency and the honesty and the integrity of the institution. If this goes, or if this goes against some good principles, then public trust will erode. Next is discourage secrecy. I can propose some policy which disallows the unauthorized utilization of the funds from the accounts. Without the permission of the account holders, we cannot do that. Then employ health insurance. Everything has happened due to the medical emergency and due to lack of funds available with that colleague. So I will ensure that there are mandatory health insurance for all the employees and their immediate families, so that there can be reduced chances of doing immoral or unethical act in the organization. Next is medical emergency fund to deal with the medical exigencies. Next is compassionate accountability. Whatever their intentions were, whether good or bad, they should hold accountable. But because their intentions were good, there were unique circumstances to deal with the medical emergency. So I'll not go with I would refrain from pressing the legal charges against them. Instead, I'll take help from the internal measures, or I'll go to some ethical committee of the bank and asks help from the suitable authorities to how to deal with the situation. Then seek guidance. If I'll not get anything, that what should be my course of action, I'll ask my superiors or the seniors that how and what should be the course of action in this particular situation. So this would be the reaction to the situation. Finally, conclusion. In conclusion, you can do the objective evaluation. We need to recognize, acknowledge the good intentions of the bank manager behind this excess of the funds from the dormant account, but at the same time we need to adhere to the rules and the regulations, policies and the principles of our organization, so as to refrain or restrain ourselves from doing any unethical deed. So this was our first case study. Let's see the model answer. First, introduction, stakeholders, ethical issues involved, evaluation, positive and negative, my reaction to the situation, and finally conclusion. So this was our first case study. Let's move on to the second question. You hold a responsible position in a ministry in the government. One day in the morning, you received a call from the school of your 11-year-old son that you are required to come and meet the principal. You proceed to the school and find your son in the principal's office. The principal informs you that your son had been found wandering aimlessly in the grounds during the time classes were in progress. The class teacher further informs you that your son has lately become a loner and did not respond to the questions in the class. He had also been unable to perform well in the football trials held recently. So what this first paragraph shows that there is a significant change in the behavior of a child. due to some reasons we do not know yet. But what we can inference from this, that the behavior of a child has gone a significant changes. You bring your son back from school and in the evening, you along with your wife try to find out the reasons for your son's changed behavior. After repeated cajoling, your son shares that some children have been making fun of him in the class as well as in the WhatsApp group of the students by calling him stunted, duh, and a frog. He tells you the names of few children who are the main culprits but pleads with you to let the matter rest. Here, and what this paragraph shows, that there is some bullying going on and the harassment also. After a few days, during a sporting event where you and your wife has gone to watch your son play, one of your colleague's sons show you a video in which students have caricatured your son. Cyberbullying. Further, he also points out to the perpetrators who were sitting in the stands. You purposefully walk past them with your son and go home. Next day, you find on social media a video denigrating you, your son, and even your wife, stating that you engaged in the physical bullying of children on the sports event. Now there are false allegations also. The video became viral on social media. Your friends and colleagues began calling you to find out the details. One of your juniors advised you to make a counter video giving the background and explaining that nothing has happened on the field. You, in turn, posted a video. Now this is the reaction of the false accusations by making a counter video on that, which you captured during the sporting event, identifying the likely perpetrators who were responsible for your son's predicament. Now, you have also narrated what has actually happened in the field and made attempts to bring out the adverse effects of the misuse of social media. Now, what this government official has tried, he has narrated, tried to tell what actually has happened and made attempts to bring awareness and education about the misuse of the social media. Based on this case study, we need to answer these two questions. So let's brief this case study again. In this scenario, as a government official, your son faces bullying in the school. Bullying which leads to the significant changes in the behavior of your son. And this bullying involves the derogatory comments and the video posted on the social media platform. Also, they are falsely accusing you of physically bullying some children in the sporting event. So this was the first case. Now, despite your son's plea to rest this matter or not to escalate this matter further, you decided to address this issue by posting a counter video explaining what has actually happened and show the true perpetrators for that. So this was the overall case study. Now what you can conclude for that this situation sheds light on the misuse of the social media platform, and there are some challenges in addressing the bullying or the issues of bullying in the cyber age or the digital age. And this spots that you have to take stand for your family's welfare and the child's well-being also. So this is the total or the overall scenario of the case study and what are the issues in that. So whatever we have discussed, you can write in the introduction about the description and what are the ethical dilemmas over here, that on the one side you need to show the truth and the transparency about what has exactly happened, but in showing that thing there risks the privacy, security and the emotional well-being of your family. So this is the ethical dilemma you can write in introduction. Now let's see what the questions are. Based on the above case study, discuss the ethical issues involved in the use of social media. So we need to find out what are the ethical issues involved in the social media use. Like the government officials has taken the support to use the social media as platform to convey his side or his stand. So what are the ethical issues involved in that particular stand? And also, what are the ethical issues in the social media use? The very first thing is cyberbullying and harassment has happened. The video circulated on the platform, social media platform. This shows the true case of cyberbullying and the harassment of the children of the government's official child. Then next comes the children's rights and the privacy violation. By not informing or by not asking about the child's right or about the children, these people have posted the video online. So this is the clear case of the violation or the breach of the child's right and the privacy. Then next comes, then when they try to just ignore the situation, they again take the revenge by putting the online video regarding the false allegation or the spreading the misinformation about the physical bullying by the public official. So this is the clear case of spread of false information. Then whosoever has posted the video online about the false accusation or the misinformation about the public officials physical bullying of other children, so this shows the lack of social media responsibility of that person. Then next is parental responsibility. In this digital age, there are increasing challenges with respect to the cyber attacks, cyber bullying, cyber crime, etc. So there are increasing parental responsibilities also, so as to take care of their child and and to regulate the well-being of their kids. Then professional conduct. By posting the video online, that official has gone against some professional ethics also. He should maintain decorum and professionalism, because this also hampers the credibility of that particular official employee also. Then he should maintain the professional conduct and ethical boundaries before stepping it into the public platform. Next question is, discuss the pros and cons of using social media by you to put across the facts to counter the fake propaganda against your family. Now, whatever you have done by coming online, what are the pros and cons of using that medium as to put your voice over there? The very first thing is, the social media provides the open platform or the direct communication. You can connect with people, you can connect to the social community at large, social media community. So you can talk about your stand, you can talk about what exactly has happened. So there is a direct communication and there is increased transparency between you and between the public. Next is correcting misinformation about the false accusations or the allegations, whatever they have put on you. You can make clarity on that by posting some other video, because whatever he has recorded, he can post online that this was the actual scenario and these are some false accusations. Next is public support. By speaking for your own on the public platform, this can help in garnering the public support of your friends, family and the society at large. They can also get to know about the reality and you garner the trust of them. Next is awareness and education. You can use that medium, you can use that video to spread the awareness and education about the negative or the ill effects of the cyberbullying, of bullying and the misuse of the social media platform. So these were some pros, and what are the cons? The very first thing is escalation of conflicts and the perpetuating the issue. Firstly, they are putting online something, then you are counteracting by putting some other video. So this can goes in perpetuity. This can escalate the issue and it goes like a harassment for the family and the kid. Next is privacy risk. When anything comes online or in the eyes of the social media, then due to yellow journalism or whatever the paparazzis they do, they come into their houses, they will get to know that what are your whereabouts and everything. It means you are more under the scrutiny of the public. So this poses the privacy risks on that family and especially that kid. Then next is emotional toll. By involving yourself in the online platform, in the debates and in the fights online, in the conflicts online, this poses an emotional toll on the family and especially that child. Next is negative backlash. This posting counter videos and then next counter videos, this can get the negative comments, the trollings and even the threats. So these are some negative backlash issues on that. Then impact on the professional image. Obviously that government official loses somewhat credibility, and because he has gone against some professional ethics also, so he should maintain the decorum, and what he is doing for the family stand, he should be more cautious about that. Then these are some pros and cons. So finally, what should be the recommended course of action? The very first thing is open communication with school. The government official should go to school and collaborate with the school administration for the safety plans of the children, so that they can promote inclusivity and acceptance of the diverse behavior of the kids. So these the very first thing is collaborate with the school administration. Then counseling for the son, because he is going through the bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, online scrutiny, and online fights and battles. So for the proper emotional well-being, we should hire the counselor, professional counselor for the son, for the emotional well-being of the son. Then if this issue escalates to some criminal level, we should report to the law enforcement agencies. Then we should empower the child so that he can take his own stand, and we should teach the assertiveness about how to go against this bullying, how to tackle this, and how not to go along with this. Then using the social media, spread education and awareness about the ill effect of the misuse of the social media, about cyberbullying and etc. So these are some recommended course of action. Finally, in conclusion, what we can write is, we can do the decision making process, that whatever we have read in our case study, that we need to prioritize, or we need to make a balance between coming up with the truth and the transparency, whatever exactly has happened, and also to stop the cyberbullying and bullying against the son. But we need to balance this thing with the security and the safety and the emotional well-being of the family and the children. So we need to balance this, that when we are going deep into coming out with the truth and the transparency, so this hampers the emotional security of the family. So we need to balance this scenario. So for that, you can write the Mahatma Gandhi's word, that strength does not come from the body, strength comes from the will, and emphasizing the importance of the ethical considerations into the difficult situation. So you can end your answer with this conclusion. Let's see the model answer. Starting with the brief introduction, what is going on, then ethical issues, then pros and cons, finally recommended course of action, and conclusion with the Mahatma Gandhi's wise words. So this was it for today. So this is the November month, and we are completing our GS4. We are completing 12 case studies till the end of November month. So this is a free initiative. You can write your answers on this portal. You can see our videos, and you can get the PDF of the model answer in the description box of this video. Next, Vajiram and Ravi is starting mains intensive test series. Through this, you can be holistically or comprehensively mains ready for 2024. In this, we are providing 38 tests, which includes half length, sectional test, and the full length test. So be mains ready and subscribe to this. Thank you. Have a nice day and keep writing.